Welcome back, everyone, to Hack Coworking Online. In case you're just tuning in, my name is Pauline. I'm going to be the MC for the next 3 days. Really excited for the next talk coming. Don't forget that if you're not on the Slack, you can still join it. There's a lot going on right now, especially on the hackathon track, with a team starting to form each other and starting reshaping their ideas. And right here, right now, we are on the conference track. The next speaker is from Bangkok. It's actually a really cool story because we met in the summer of 2018 when we were discovering the co-working scene of Bangkok. His name is Sombat. He's the co-founder and director of Paperspace. I don't want to say too much about it. I want him to tell you the whole story behind. But during the coronavirus, he has made a really interesting research about workplace adaptation, which he's going to talk about now. Let's invite him here around. Hi, Sombat, are you around?
Hi, Pauline. Nice to meet you.
Hi, so nice to see you. How are you?
I'm very good.
What time is it in Bangkok now?
It's 5 p.m. Bangkok
time. Okay, so end of the day. Great. I'm going to hand over the floor to you so you can start presenting. Don't forget to click on the share screen button so people can see your slides. See you in a bit.
See you.
Are you sharing your slide now? I think yeah, you can.
Can you see my screen now? Hello?
Yes, we see it. Go for it.
Yeah. Great. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sombat from Bangkok. So just to introduce a bit about myself, I'm a co-founder of Paperspace. We are interior design firms running from Bangkok, Singapore, Manila, and India. So I've been in this business for 20 years. So this is my clients in the past 20 years. I did office for all the clients across Asia, including Google, Facebook, Airbnb, and Disney. So because of we have to design office for those clients, and then it's very important for us to study what is the history of workplace. And then right now, because we are in the middle of the critical point, everyone is questioning what is going to be happening after this COVID-19 situation. So it is good for us to look back to the past and then use that data to move to the future. So I will start with this. As you know, actually, we are before the Industrial Revolution on 1760s. We are working from home. Actually, we are like farmers, bakeries. We are doing a home business, and suddenly there is this industrial revolution happening in the world, and most of people is calling into the mass production assembly line. So everyone has to move from their home into the factories to do the mass production. So that is kind of a starting point of the office, actually. And then 1895, because of the technologies of skyscraper, so everyone is pulling back into one tall building, working from this building, same time, same place. So this is, I would say that is really beginning of what we call office building. And then in 1990s, someone called Mr. Taylor, so he started mapping the way people work in the factories into this office space. So he tried to simulate the assembly line in the factory into the working space. So this is a very early stage of office design. So we call this era as the terrorist office. And then moving to 1937, this is the building called Johnson Wax in US. So you can see that there's a development of the previous era. So the workspace become more proper. So each worker has their own desk, which has quite a special space. And all the staff is working in a lower floor, whereby the manager is sitting on the upper floor overlooking them. And then 1930s, this Great Depression after World War, the economic crash, all the world seems to be stopped. And we as a human spend a few decades to recover what we have gone through for the Great Depression. And when starting off 1946, is starting off the baby boomer era in US. So in this period of time, people seem to be they request for more well-being. So they need a lot of things to prove that they're success in life. They have to have a car, house, well-being accessories, those kind of things, and those is translated into the office as well. So 1960, we have the office called Bureau Landscape. I think the English term is office landscape. So this is the, I think to me it's very close to what we are today. So you can see from the layout, all the staff is become grouping as a zoning, like department wise. So they have their own component within the groups and working closely to the next group. And then 1964, the American furniture company called Herman Miller came out with this idea called the action office. So instead of just a desk, so they create a system where we as a human sitting into a cubicle, but it's really huge cubicle surrounded with all the accessory equipment. So one people has their own world within that cubicle, and because of they believe that human need a lot of ergonomics accessories. So everything that designed for this cubicle is meant to be very ergonomic for a human. In the 1970s, we have the third industrial revolution. So the computers enter into the world with a lot of change. So people start working on these monitors, and that affect to the workplace as well. So this is what we call the cubicle farm on 1980s, and you can see that it's like because you can see from the past that it starts from the early stage of people working in the factories, and they take human as one of the mechanic of the factories, and then they start getting better and better and better. And then for this era, I think the realization of human is being dropped because the other corporate feel that actually the staff is just another part of their mechanisms. So they put the staff into a little box, little partitions, put a monitor there. So people just come to work 9 in the morning and then just look at the screens and then leave the office at 6. There is no well-being, there is no facility in this era. So the research said that productivity is increasing a lot with this mode, but somehow the well-being of human is getting dropped. People seem to be dying, crawling out from the office at 6. They want to go home. They don't want to be in the office. And then 1990s, I think, is starting the era of modern office, which is we can see this office all around the world. People have their a proper desk to sit, and then the manager have the rooms so they can monitor the staff, and the office itself become a branding of the corporation. So if you are a law firm, financials, or the bank, so you have to use the office to represent who you are, and then all the well-being is adding to this. So we are living into this era. And then in 2000s, I think those startup is entering into the world. Someone who are like not very old, creating something that's changeable, and then they become a big corporation in a very like few years, like Facebook, Google, and Airbnb. And because we are lucky that we work with them for the past like few years, so we know a lot from working with them. So what I mean by hybrid workplace is, you can see this is Airbnb office in Beijing, which we designed in 2015. So it is something called activity-based workplace. So 400 square meters with 40 staff. Everyone going to the office in the morning. They put their stuff into the lockers, and they change their slippers. They grab their stuff, and they choose the way they work in this office. So there is no dedicated desk. It's only a variation of work setting. There is a work desk, there is a lounge, there is a standing desk. So you make your own choice whether you want to work during the day. And I think co-working space seems to be really aligned with this activity-based workplace era. So people take that moment and develop into a business as like co-working space. So we don't need to be one single company. So we can be a small company renting the space, and then we choose the way we want to work in that whole space. This is Facebook in Manila. We designed last year. So this is the because they believe that the creation recreation space, like those breakout space, is very important for staff. So office is not a desk. So there should be something else to the office. So those ping pong table is adding into the workplace in order to make life better. And like I said, the office represents the company characters. So Facebook believe in startup. So they feel that even though they are, dominate the whole population of the world, they still startup. So the first Facebook office I did is 2007. I think we got the guideline from Facebook, and there's one tagline that I really impressed is they said that they are only 1% complete in their whole journey. So they have 99% to move on. So Facebook office has to represent that tagline. So all the Facebook office need to be like incomplete because they are not there yet. They have a long way to go, even though they are already like, a very huge corporation in the world. On the other side, so this is Google office in Manila. We completed last year. So Google believe in innovation. So they said that they don't believe that the big idea that changed the world is happen onto the desk. So what they did is they spend money and energy to create what they call a collaboration space. So this is the kind of like informal meeting space in the meeting floor. So they expect that people come to the office not to work, but to get inspiration from the work and then create something that change the world. And that could be happen into a tiny box of cubicle. So So the concept of this Google Space is what we call the digital jungle. So people come, instead of you going out to the world to get inspiration, you come to the office and you get inspiration. And then last year we have COVID-19 pandemic. No one has expected this. So in a couple of months, I mean, there's a lot of news coming everywhere in the world on this situation, because no one prepared for that. And I think it's a big question for all the corporation and the workplace to asking themselves what will be happen after this. As you read from the news, I think we have forced to put our staff to work from home for a few weeks or a few months for some countries. And with that moment, I think people realize that actually there's an option for people to work not just only from the office but from home. So what we did is, so this is the Zoom call that actually for some people they never use like online communication before, but in the past few weeks, I think everyone seem to use this as their typical tools to communicate with the staff from everywhere. But the fact is, it's not everyone is very productive from home. As you can see, there's a lot of people having really a lot of trouble with their families if they live in a tiny place and then they have kids around and they conference with the colleague. So in the past few weeks, we are as a company, because we have a multiple office around Asia Pac, so we start questioning that question, whether what it's going to look like for the workplace after this. So we put a team from 4 countries, Bangkok, Singapore, Manila, and India, doing a full 4 weeks workshop to find out that answer. And just to give you a glimpse of what we get from the past 4 weeks is before. I mean, if we check the data and if we track those era of workplace design, we realize that personal space seems to be a lot bigger in the past, and then it's getting smaller and smaller towards today. I think what we track today is we got about 6 to 10 square meters per person. Means if you are an organization where you have 100 staff, you may looking at office about 600 or 1,000 square meters to fit in your staff. So that is a typical metrics that we work. But because of this COVID-19, because of social distancing, we have to put people back to the office very soon, but we can't put them side by side anymore. So the density of people increasing from 10 to 20 because you need social distance between each of them. But somehow, because you have a same building parameter to fit your people, means you can't put everyone back to the office. Means you have to balance between someone working from the office and someone has to be working from home. And we can't answer what is a right ratio for that. It has to be found out within the organization. And I think the most important question is what about 2021 or the 3 years after this? What do you do? Because I don't think we can put 20 square meters per person like always. It has to be some kind of mechanism to put into the workplace for the next 3 years. So this is what we think it should be. So we think it has to be split into 3 phases. So the first one is now. or next month where we as organization have to put our staff back. So what we need to do now is first is the safety and well-being. It used to be a fun or productivity or the KPI that people put as a first priority in our workplace. But for the first phase one, I think the very important factor that you have to start is safety for your own staff. So those policy or the mask, gel, alcohol has to put into the workplace for your people to be able to go back to work. And then, like I said in the previous slide, you have to figure out the balance from people working in the office and people working from home. And there's a lot of tools for you to do that. And I think what we need to find out is, instead of getting the direction from top down, you have to get a feedback from staff from bottom up as well, because you have to check with them how do they react to this work from home. Are they okay with that? Do they ready for that? And then once you pass phase one, you move into phase two, which is the next 6 months to a year. So you put your staff back, and then I think you have to use that 6-month period to figure out your long-term solution, because that is just a mid-term solution. So you have to somehow adjust your policy. You have to put a strategy into the workplace, and then you have to define your new behavior and culture. And just for example, you may have 100 staff as a full-time. So you may think about the option of getting a contract-based workforce for 50% instead of like 100%. So you can put 50 people in the office, somehow 50 people working somewhere else. And I think the last phase is using that data that you explore in the next 6 months to plan and strategize for a workplace in the next 3 years. And I think at the moment, no one has that answer. I think everyone in the world, including a very huge organization in the world, I think they start questioning this question. And in the past few weeks, we start calling back our clients, which we designed the office before, to to check out what happened in the past 4 weeks. And we get data, and we will do the workshop with them and planning the midterm and long-term solution for them. I think speaking on co-working space as well, because I'm running 2 co-working space from Bangkok. I think because there will be people working from the office, and right now they're working from home. But I think we are searching for something in between, not from home, not from the office. I think co-working space itself can be fit into this in-between space. But the question is, I don't think we can run co-working space as we run before, because we can't put a stranger next to each other, and the density that we used to put in order to get our ROI doesn't work anymore. We have to put into consideration of social distancing. The idea is maybe we have to increase the density per person. Somehow we may have to adapt component in co-working space toward this solution. Maybe like create a hygiene pot for few people to sit into that, so they feel safer rather than sitting into the open plan with the other stranger. I think if I'm gonna end this slide, I would say that every crisis has 2 sides, whether you want to look at the positive side or the negative side. So for me, I think it's a positive side, because it's a chance for us to invent something new into the world. We can try a lot of things, and people or client I think they are more open to new solution than before. Thank you, Colin.
I was just clapping on behalf of everybody that watched your presentation. Thank you so much. It was really, really insightful. I wanted to, so I have so many questions, and I also loved your presentation because it connected so much with the topics that we discussed this morning during the hackathon. Like when you talked about that actually the workplace is changing, but also the ways we are working are changing because of like the coronavirus and everything. So when I was listening to you talking, it seems to me that it looks like a wheel, kind of.
Yeah,
like,
it's a cycle.
Exactly. And so where do you think in which part of the cycle are we going towards? Like, are we going very back to the 1900s in the way offices and the layout of offices were? Or is it going to be like something, because also I feel the expectations are so different from like the cubicle era, where everything was really about productivity. What would you define the new era that's coming? Like, is it going to be a combination of what for employees and for workplaces?
Yeah. So from my point of view, I think it's going to be something what I call a skill-based workplace. So we design a workplace not based on activities, but based on the skill. What I mean by that is what we need to do is to look at organization or the way we work and try to split out skill that we need for the whole workflow, and then you map that into the space. And the good thing is because we have a virtual tools, not just like the 100 years back where we need to be in the office like to meet or to work. So we have the option to work somewhere else. Means I think the new era to be the space between, like I said, the office and the home, somewhere here. So the big corporation will be reduce the floor plate or real estate for sure. Because the real estate cost is increasing, somehow they have to control the budget. So they have to put less people into the office. And the question is, those people who are not in the office, where do they work? I think they have the option to work from home, and they have the option to work from a new co-working space type or something else. There'll be possibility for a big organization to split their HQ into a small component. Instead of one building putting 5,000 people into one building, they may split into a small 5 pot all across country. So people who are living in the north area, they don't need to commute an hour to the HQ. They can spend like 10 minutes to the satellite pot, where it's a compact pot with a few functions to access that, collaborate with people, and go back to their home, something like that.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and I think as you were saying also, like when there are two sides of seeing the coronavirus, like the negative side and the positive side, I think looking from a co-working space perspective, this is really positive for them. If companies are starting to give the options to their employees to work closer from their homes, it means people will look for workplaces that are kind of like around where they are. But then what I'm wondering, in a city like Bangkok, for instance, where in the central area you have so many huge buildings, which are right now occupied by so many big corporate companies, what are they going to become? Like, do you have some ideas of like what could happen to all those big towers? Is there going to be a shift in the workplace, like in the usage? Like, are we going to use it more than just to work?
I think so. I think there's a like news in Bangkok that most of people is kind of like stop their lease because of
Okay.
first, I think first they have to downsize their company. They used to have 100 staff. They may have to reduce to like 50% in order to stay survive. So they don't that big space anymore. So they talk to the landlord whether they can reduce their space or not. If they couldn't, they move out to a smaller space. So you can see the momentum of the organization moving toward a smaller space. And somehow your question is, what do we do with that building, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the big question for the landlord, because
Yeah.
it used to be like rate like 90% occupancy rate. Right now, I think it's going to be reduced a lot, and the question is, how do they survive with that?
Exactly.
Yeah, I
It's
think the other trend in Bangkok is because we are the one of the worst traffic countries in the world. You know, people
yeah.
spend
I can definitely testify.
yeah, and then people who if we just an early career, we need to live in the city in order to go to the office. So the real estate is very crowded in CBD area or the condos. You stay in it's like 60 square meters condominium, which is quite small for like 2-3 people. But if you have choice to work from home for like a couple of days in a week, and with the same money you spend to get a 60 square meters condominium in city, or you get a 3 bedrooms house with land somewhere else, I think you may choose the second one, because you can virtually work from home and you spend like 2 days going to the city. I
And
think
more time. Yeah.
yeah, I think that is kind of like a very big kind of like a change, not just for the office but for the real estate market as well.
There is a question that came, and on the other hand, if we work from home, is there going to be a change in the residential architecture?
I do believe so. I think work will be kind of like a main component in the future in our home. So we may design a house with a proper working room where we can have a monitor which we can virtually call to the other remote workers, right? And then I think there will be a mini office in the house. I think that's a new trend that if someone can crack that, I think they can create a new business model, new way of house design.
It's also a real challenge, because in cities like Hong Kong or even Tokyo, where you have such a small apartment.
Exactly.
Yeah. Another question. Hi, Sombat. Do you think that in the future, working in an office space will be more of a privilege for socializing and inspiration?
Yeah, it is. I think so, because you don't need to go to the office to work on the desk anymore. It's proof you work from home. You can do work from home. You think you cannot in the past, but in the past few weeks, it proves that you can't. So going to the office is not to go to sit on the desk to work anymore. So you go to the office to meet your colleague, because sometimes doing virtually Zoom call, you it seems like you miss something. You miss the human energy, especially for extrovert. They can't get the energy from Zoom call. They have to meet real people. And I think the office will serve that function. You go there, you get inspiration, and you go back to your home to work on your focus mode.
Another question that came in, during the last crisis, a whole new trend in interior design appeared. Do you think it will be the same now?
Yeah, I think there will be something new happen after this, because if you see my slide, I think the different kind of office doesn't happen as like there's some reason for them to be like that. There's some factor that force people to work like that, to create a way of working specific to that era. So I think now what we are facing now is that moment where people has choice to work everywhere. Somehow there's technologies that empower that. So there's going to be a new way of working, but no one know how it look like now, actually.
Actually, it's true. It seems like we are in a transitioning phase, right? Because the offices are not open yet back. And so that when you were saying that right now your clients, they don't know exactly what they should reshape and how. But so it also has a big implication, I guess, for them and a lot of work for you also in terms of like interior design, right?
Yes, yes.
Are you already working with them now in figuring out how they can welcome people back?
Yeah. So a case study, I just came back from the client office this morning. So they have about 100, like 200 staff in the building. They have a huge building, and the office is newly done a few years back. They have a proper desk, proper rooms. Everything is looking fine until the COVID hit. And because of they are doing restaurant business, so the main core business is hit by coronavirus because people couldn't go into the restaurant to eat. So they have to find a way to survive. And what they did is they create a scrum team from different departments and put it into a small BU, and all is working virtually on Zoom call only. And they did that for the past 4 weeks. And I think next week is a day one that they start moving people back to the office. And the CEO is questioning because it seems to be very dynamic on the Zoom call. The junior staff, which never talk at all in the office, speak really loud in the Zoom call because they feel that they are the same, hierarchy with the others on the monitors. So they speak, but somehow if we put them back into the cubicle again, is that going to happen or is going to die? So they call us to look at the whole office, and they want us to rethink the way they work. So they may tear down everything in order to maintain that momentum.
We have another question. What are your thoughts on an anti-cafe as part of a co-working space?
I think people say that we can't put a cookies jar in the breakout anymore, right? Because of that. I think there'll be a temporary for sure, I guess. I think in the next 6 months, I think it has to be kind of like stopped for a while because it's easy for them to spread the virus through those cafe thing. But I think in the next year or 2 years, I think the vaccine will come. I think they become like a normal thing for us. So the cafe will be back, but not so soon for me.
And one thing I want to ask you, in the paper you created with your team across those 4 countries, did you also look at well-being and the implication that this will have on employees and the fact that they can you just talk a little bit about it?
So we are starting to do a survey from our employee side of view, because in the past when you design a workplace, it seems to be the top-down protocol. So all the management decide what they want from that office, and then they ask designer to design. But for this era, you have to ask employee, if you have 100 staff, how many % of them willing to work from home? How many % has ability to work remotely? And the well-being is, I think some people do enjoy working from home. Some people is just getting trouble. Just like me, I can't work from home. I have to go to the office every day actually to work.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I think the well-being is, if you are in the office, you should have a well-being support. And if you choose to work from home, I think there will be a kind of a protocol for you to have a well-being working from home as well. For like example, a good chairs. Do you have a good chair in office? Yes. Do do you have the good chair in your house? Maybe not. You know, they're very interesting. I interviewed like a lot of clients recently, and then one client saying that the staff which is forced to work from home, they borrow a chair from the office back to home. Because
actually, it's
and you did that too?
very because when the outbreak came, we were talking a lot with co-working spaces and co-working communities from all over the world. And in Japan, we had spaces telling us that many companies were ordering furniture like good chair and good desks to ship it to the employees' home because no one had equipment.
You
and
could
I think
sit on a dining chair for 8 hours for sure.
Exactly. And one of our partner also from Poland who do furnitures, they were telling us that some people made some videos and hacks on how they were using an iron plank as a standing desk.
Oh, really?
Because they didn't have they were working on a kitchen table, and it's also not designed for you to work on it. So they were finding hacks at home on like how to keep what you were exactly saying, the comfort of what you had in the workplace, but find it in your home when you don't have necessarily the possibility to order those furnitures or even to afford it, because they are also not all very affordable for a lot of them. So that's interesting. But one other thing I want to ask you is about Paperspace, because I find the concept really interesting. And how do you cope right now as a co-working space yourself with the members? Are they back in the workplace already? Did you have actually in Bangkok to shut down, or were you not? It was not an obligation. Like what's happening now at Paperspace?
Yeah. So just to explain, actually we are running two business in Bangkok. So we have Paperspace as a design firm, and we have Paperwork as a brand, as a co-working space.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have two companies in the same place. So this office is what we call Paperwork, which is co-working space. You visit here, but somehow the company is running virtually in this office as well. So we have the tenant rules is a Paperwork tenant. So they have their own rooms. So right now, I think they are back working. We have only like 5 staff working in the office. The rest, like another 20, 30 people is working as remotely. So they are not in the office. So we used to, since we start, which is 3 years back, we communicate with our crew via Zoom. So we don't really, actually we don't have any problem with this COVID thing at all. It's like we operate as usual.
Yeah, you were doing it already for quite some time, so it didn't change much for you. Yeah, and as a sorry, please go for it.
Oh, sorry.
I was going to ask.
Sorry. You first. Sorry.
No, finish your sentence, because I was going to switch to a last question. So go for it.
Sure. So I think I would say that from my side, the back end is going like as like before, but the client side, I think there's new thing for them, because we never do online community introduction before. We have to go to the office to present what we do, but because of this, we have chance to do a online introduction, which is interesting. So I think we experience something new to us also from the client side. We never do design thinking online before. Have you done that with the virtual whiteboard, post it online? So all countries can do their own post it, and it's appear in one screen. I think that's quite interesting for us.
And my last question to you is, as an architect yourself, how do you see your role towards your client evolving right now in this post-COVID-19 era that is starting?
I would say that we as like architect, we used to look at things from kind of like a design, functional, aesthetic point as a main criteria. But I think post-COVID, we have to look at the outer area as well, apart from just only a function and aesthetic. What I'm talking about is the company culture, the staff well-being, the business model. I think we have to look at a broader perspective in order to design a proper workplace for the client. And the thing is, what we have learned in the past 20 years doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't work anymore. I would say that is like we have to relearn and we have to reimagine everything from now on. We used to have a very autopilot mode where we get a brief and we can decide the office right away. But I don't think that's work anymore for us. I think we have to stop and then try to understand the client deeply, what they have gone through in the past few weeks, and then use that as a baseline to do the next thing for them.
Great. Thank you so much, Sombat. It was so interesting. I'm sure everybody in the audience really enjoyed it. Before I let you go, as you know, we love selfies.
Okay, sure.
Is it okay if we take a selfie together as a memory of our chat?
Sure, of course.
Smile. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
I
much,
think if people have questions to you, they can connect with you on LinkedIn, right?
Sure.
I added your LinkedIn into the participant kit. So thank you once again. Clap, clap, clap to you. And be well, stay safe. And we'll see each other soon, I hope. Bye, Sombat.
Yeah. Bye-bye, Halin.